The attack may begin long before the breach. When someone maps your people, technology, exposed systems, partners, and digital footprint, what if the attacker understands your external attack surface better than your own security teams does? Joining us, Dr. Sahil Baghla, founder and CEO of EH1 Infotech Cybersecurity, a vCISO, and a cybersecurity advisor. Before we dive into the topic, let's have a small video about Power of Knowing Forum. Welcome to Permanent Conclave, where insights become strategic advantage. Let's welcome Dr. Sahil Baghla to our podcast and dive into the topic. Good evening, sir. Welcome to our podcast. How are you today, sir?
I'm doing good. Good evening to you as well as everyone attending the podcast.
Sir, a small intro about yourself, your journey.
I'm Dr. Sahil Baghla. I have been running EH1 Infotech since last 15 years. So I've started my journey after completing my BTech as a cybersecurity education provider. So we provided industrial training to students. From that, we moved towards providing web development services as well as designing services. And after that, in the year 2018, I started working with my international clients, providing them cybersecurity services, and I started working as their vCISO. Parallel to the same, I started my PhD, completing my PhD in the year 2023 with the topic as main determinant factor of cybercrime. Parallel to the same, in the year 2024, I realized one thing, and that is very important, that there are number of organizations in the world, those are not getting cybersecurity to the level of it is required. So if you talk about cybersecurity is a CEO responsibility. It's not only a technical job of being provided by any virtual CISO or somehow. So from there, how I started my organization EH1 Infotech Cybersecurity Private Limited in the year 2025. So EH1 Infotech is not a brand which has been started in the year 2025. This brand has been started in the year 2011, and the same legacy with the name continued with private limited company also.
Wonderful, sir. Thank you for that, sir. And let's dive into the topic. How much can they really learn about company before attempting the first intrusion?
Over here, like if you're talking about an attacker, so what attacker basically does, we people usually think that attacker will come to our organization on our website or on our application, and they will perform the attack, and automatically a different type of attacks like phishing or exploit to be done at company website as well as to the other infrastructure of the organization. But that is not the primary thing nowadays. In reality, how things happens, like first of all, attackers or any bad actor gonna research about your organization, and as you think about researching about the organization, research happens specifically for websites, for domain, for technologies, for exposed services, for your, about even about your partners, those who are associated with your company, because everything you mention on your website. And then these information which specifically we get from a hacker probably get from the organizational public space, that information is being connected, and that information is being, individual information is being connected together, and automatically picture of the organization is being made. So individual information is not harm by being alone. But when the information is being connected together, it provide opportunity for attacker, hacker, and for specifically to understand what is the easier thing by which they can perform the attack. So if you talk about like important part is as per the question that if attacker comes to a website being a bad actor, first thing is the learning about the organization, and last the attack will be made on the organization.
Thank you for that, sir. I think what we are also saying is they learn first and then come into the environment is what we are seeing. And before that, before an attacker sends a phishing mail or launches an exploit, what can be realistically discovered by the business and how does that intelligence shape the attacker's plan, sir?
uh, uh, I have already conveyed the same, but that is the base from where we can
Oh, okay.
carry forward our discussion. And this is required to be discussed. And as per that, like already conveyed you, when attacker gonna perform attack. So over here now your question is about the phishing mail or something. So before that, I would like to only answer back you that what exactly these phishing things are. So whatsoever
Yeah.
mail you are receiving from other people, those can be legitimate mail, and any legitimate mail which seems to be legitimate can be phishing mail. But question arises that
Mhm.
how come somebody like who is somewhere else, how come they know about the organization, and how they are able to know about the infrastructure of the organization. So same thing again, like first of all, public information is gathered about a company by these attackers. So they gathers about domain, subdomain, website, technologies, cloud, SaaS, as well as expose system. Then specifically, even the information of employees is being gathered. Now, question arises that how information of employees are being gathered. Every company posts about their like job requirement on the on LinkedIn as well as on different job portal. So as they are posting these job requirements, automatically these job requirements act as a root cause for knowing for hacker to know the technology being used by the organization, and accordingly the email infrastructure. So hacker gonna connect all this information, and then as all this information is being connected accordingly, this different signal as different informations are being connected, then hackers specifically prioritize on which to focus and where to focus, and accordingly if one of your and the hacker has come to know about the email infrastructure, so automatically on to the hacker, and being a CEO of the organization, or being a junior employee of the organization, or being a senior employee of the organization, you have mentioned about your email on the websites, and you are going to get phishing emails from attacker point. And these phishing emails can probably contain some information about your own company. When you're surprised to read those information, and probably few things will be critical in those phishing emails. So like you, for example, there is a this particular server requires a particular version update, this type of email. So without checking exactly that whether that email was a phishing email, like a company owner, even junior employees, they open that email, and automatically hackers are able to get them clicked a phishing link and automatically able to hack them. So this is how these publicly accessible signal present on the websites is helping attacker to send even phishing email as well as doing the attack on the organization. I think, sir, your voice is not coming. If you
Yeah.
don't mind,
Sorry, I was on mute. I was on mute. So, uh,
not an issue.
as you rightly said, information of the organization is available publicly, right? So, today's environment, we see companies having many social media accounts, right? They put their details, and you also spoke about LinkedIn for jobs and stuff like that. So, every information is available on the internet of any company on all the social medias, right? Now, which
Absolutely.
publicly accessible signals reveal the most? Domains, employee IDs, technology stacks, job posting, cloud service, suppliers, social media, code repository or leaked credentials, which these are things that I think which are publicly available, right? So what do you think are the signals that reveal these?
Again, it is very important to understand one signal alone may not be a vulnerability. So if you're
Yeah.
only thinking that having a subdomain or having a website or having a public signals like cloud or internet facing system, or even employees even about their roles are acting as a single signal, no, single, these are single signals, but when they are joined together they automatically become an asset for a hacker, attacker, or you can say bad actor to hack your organization. So you can remember that one signal alone may not be a vulnerability. Risk increases when attacker connect multiple signals about your organization.
What we are saying is it's not this one way they can enter in multiple ways, which can be one of these or maybe multiple of these also, is what you are saying. where is the
Absolutely.
where is the line between harmless public information and information that becomes dangerous when an attacker collects it, sir?
uh, when you say harmless, we usually think whatsoever information is present on our website is harmless. But in
Okay.
reality, uh, you have to remember that even that harmless information can be dangerous information. Now, now, if as you ask that, what is the line between the same? So I will make you understand with the more elaboration to this part. So if you talk about harmless information is like company name, employee role,
Mm.
technology. These all information may be harmless individually, like about detail about myself is harmless, but detail about my employee, my team who's working with me, is individually it is harmless. But important part
Mm.
is context matter. Risk dependent upon the on how the information can be used. So multiple piece of information become much more useful to an attacker. So important part is what could someone do with this information when combined with other information. So you just have to remember, you just have to understand that one information when being combined with the other information is automatically very become very useful for attack. So the question should not always be, is this information secret or is this information harmless? The better question is, what could someone do with the information when combined with the other information? So again, combination matters, context matter, and the context is how these information, which are seems to be harmless, combine tag together and become dangerous information about your organization.
Now the point what we are trying to address here is any information which is regarding an organization can be a threat. Am I right in saying that?
Absolutely, absolutely.
So
Any information which is present public.
publicly, yeah. So if
Absolutely.
there is a just going on little deep on to the point that you said is, when you say technology, people will start looking at, if this is the technology, what could be the vulnerabilities that they are having so that I can penetrate. That could be one of the easiest way to start, is what I get from what you're saying. If I can see if there is a technology stack that is there and people come to know these are the vulnerabilities, these are the ports which are available for me to access, these are the pointers which I can get into earlier, which was able to be penetrating into the system. So these kind of information can be harmful and it can be dangerous for the reputation of the organization and the availability of the services, right? So I think that's the point.
Absolutely.
How can
Absolutely.
leadership look at this point? How can a leadership team determine whether it is an external digital print is revealing more than the organization realize?
If you talk Absolutely, if you talk about leadership, so here comes a very important point, and that is the reason that why our companies. So you just
Mm.
have to remember, I'm working as a virtual CISO for big organization, but there are many MSME, there are many small organizations, there are even there are organizations which are still in old ages, even
Mm.
like they are they are doing good with their product. What about them is online is their website, and even their digital asset. So accordingly, as per your question, you did ask that how leadership can determine whether an external digital footprint is revealing more than the organization reveals. So being a leader, you have to see your organization as attacker point of view. So being a attacker point of view, first thing you're gonna discover about the different website present about our organization. So I'm not explaining how to become an attacker, I'm not how to become a hacker, I'm just explaining you that being a leader, you just have to remember, you have to see your organization as very similar to as unknown outsider. So if you are unknown outsider to an organization, what you will discover about the organization, you will discover domain, discover subdomain, even those subdomain which were testing domain in the past, even those subdomain which were staging domain in the past, and then application, then API. So these and other even your even cloud connected with your website, even all this information, being an unknown person, you will visit this information. Then specifically being a leader, what thing I have in my hand, I have internal asset list also. So I can make external, I can view my organization externally also, then I can compare the same with my internal access list, what the organization believe I do own. I can even ask my security guy, means my security person, or my IT team, that this is the external view I've checked about my organization. Let me know what is the internal view or internal access list we have, or internal asset list we have. So we every company do maintain internal asset list of theirs. So when the gap is being checked between external view of the organization, or you can say external list as well, and internal access list, that gap automatically let us know that where we are lacking behind, and it can automatically benefit us what we think is visible versus what is actually visible about the company. And here comes other perspective also, and that is black box, which we people does. We don't if we are doing black box security of any organization, or we are doing black box VAPT of an organization, we don't require any internal knowledge of the organization, no privileged internal knowledge. We Similar to that, being a leader, we have to see the organization accordingly, like an external party can independently observe about our organization. So you just have to remember, being a leader, what can an unknown outsider discover without internal access? So this is something where you can say that leadership can determine.
I think what you are saying is issue is rarely one isolated piece of a public information, right? So risk can emerge from when an attacker correlates or multiple signals. We started with that. With if he has multiple signals, we started with system credentials, technology, and all these things. So now, what could be those employee names and roles? What is that they do, right? So that could be one of the pointer. Then could email conversations if they are leaked. They can get a big transaction list also on some of the potential clients also, right? So that could be. And you rightly said, technology vendors, who are the vendors who are there, they can, if a technology vendor comes and we reveal this is the technology we are using, there could be a risk of saying that this vendor can go and give pass information also outside, is what I understand from your point. Now what we are also saying is a useful, effective, executive outcome is an attacker view exposed map, right? Which is covering people, technology, identity, suppliers, and external reachable assets. These are the pointers that we should be focusing so that we don't have this getting. I think one of the latest trends which I am reading out now is Google Threat Intelligence reported in May 2026 that advisories are increasingly using AI as high speed research assistant across the attack lifecycle, including for more target and well researched conciseness, and this changes reconciseness from slow manual exercise into something that can increasingly be automated at scale. That's the point that Google Threat Intelligence report has come out. Now, what we are also saying is your attack surface is not only what you expose, that's what is publicly available, right? It is what the attacker can connect, right? That's the point that we want to try. With that, what or why do organizations still lose visibility of their own external attack surface while attackers continually search for forgotten or exposed vulnerable assets, which we started,
Absolutely.
right?
Absolutely. Uh, I would like to answer this question, but before that, I would like to add few terms with the previous question related to AI, because you mentioned about
Okay.
the Google report, and I want to
Yes.
add my pointers in that in that also, because that is very
Okay.
important. And now with the like important part is, as per Google reported, with the invention of AI, with the usage of AI, question arises that thus process has become easier. Uh, Process remains the same. Old process, attackers, hackers, they are using the old process. And
Hmm.
with the invention of AI, so there is it is not a new process. So only the speed has increased for collecting the information, and accordingly scale has been increased. So the information is being collected, then is being summarized, and accordingly hackers are able to connect all this information all together. So now organization may have less time to identify and reduce exposure. So now, so you just have to remember that with the invention of AI, organizations are having less time to specifically identify and to reduce their exposure. We will speak about AI later on also in other questions of yours, which you gonna question. You did ask that why do organizations still lose visibility of their own external attack surface?
Yeah.
Like, think about my organization.
Hmm.
I do have a website. Why, being a website owner, do I think that I will lose external attack surface visibility? We usually think like that. And but how come hackers are able to continuously search about forgotten, exposed or vulnerable asset? So you just have to remember, business changes. The question arises, how come business changes? If I'm running a business, my only aim to run this organization is to grow this business. So as I grow this business, my company gonna grow. I will build new website. I will have new application. I will attach new subdomain to my company main website, as well as I will even build SaaS with my organization as parallel to the same API from third party. Gonna we do add those API in our website, as well as we integrate our website with cloud. So, and sometimes even acquisition also happen. Like if a company is being sold to a new company, so that new company has those assets now. So automatically that gonna increase your what you can say, your asset, or your digital asset which your organization owns. And parallel to the same, even a team of yours gonna have test systems. Even team of your have old application which they don't regularly monitor, but still these all your old infrastructure, and with your organization, as organization gonna grow, and new infrastructure. So old replaced, no longer maintained asset of your organization, which you people think, even being a company owner, you think that nobody actively think about these asset, but internet remembers them. So you are coming to the question again. External visibility of the organization grows because of the old infrastructure and new infrastructure, which specifically happens with the organization growth.
Yeah. Got your points. What we also spoke about some of the old things, right? Old systems, test systems, right? How do shadow IT, old systems, test systems, SaaS application, APIs, and forgotten cloud quietly accumulate?
uh, you know why I'm laughing? My only laughing is like, there is something behind in my laugh, and the laugh is, think about the same when employee resign an organization. So any of the employee as they resign an organization or project end, for example, think about the same. My company is working on a project. So project finishes, employees being moved to different department, or responsible person leave. Then think about the same. Then these shadow IT, all domains, test system, and even forgotten cloud quietly accumulate in case of your organization. And no, so these forgotten asset become your old infrastructure. Nobody actively manage about or think about the asset, but you just have to remember these assets were online, and if they are still online, they are visible from the internet. You being owner of the company, being CEO of the company, you forget the asset, you forget about the asset as company grows, but the internet never forgets the same. So I want to add key line over here, and my key line is: attack surface does not only grow when you deliberately add a new production system. It can also grow through things that were created temporarily or never properly removed after the test has been finished or staging part has finished. So if those things are still present, they are going to grow your what you can say shadow infrastructure or your old infrastructure of your organization.
No, got it, sir. We were doing. I've spoken this in multiple podcasts of mine, because what is that we miss when we talk about user management is, we, as you rightly said, people leave the organization or they are elevated. Do they need that audit is not done, right? So that
Absolutely.
becomes a bigger challenge for most of the. I with my current CISO role and the CTO role that I do, first pointer of looking it is the IAM side. How do the users come in? On board and off board should be very clearly done. If that is done, I think first elimination of that forgotten or accumulating quietly goes down, right? And we can cut short most of the challenges that we see when we look at the access management. Today, the structure is so big. We have multiple organization, multiple locations. Not one organization has multiple locations, multiple processes, and best practices. Governance has to be looked at. Now, if you are at the European region, you have their laws, GDPR and other laws come in. When you are in the US, you sit with CCPA, right? So this we discussed, because this is the critical part of any availability matter. As organization should look at is audit of users, onboard and offboarding of users, is what I understand from what you're saying. Why are traditional asset inventories often different from what external attackers actually see?
So, question arises, which you have asked over here, that what is the why those lists are different. Like internal
Mm.
list is that which is being maintained by the organization, that we are having these external, or but we are having these asset of ours. So, parallel to the same, you have asked about the external inventory. External inventory is something which attacker make about the organization. So always remains a gap. Organization knows specifically what it knows and what they are manages, but for attacker don't see what is in your inventory. Instead, attacker only see what they can discover. So
Discover.
absolutely. So as they can discover about your domain, your IP, your application, so the gap is specifically known as certain. So the gap over here is what you think is present in your asset, and what is externally attackable is totally different. Or your
Different.
externally attackable assets are totally different. So you can look about your organization like with the outside view. Look at yourself from outside. Don't being leader of the organization, we should not rely on internal documentation. So important point over here is your asset inventory tell you what you believe you own, and external assessment help you understand what the internet can actually see about your organization. So external access inventory is something which can only be done during black box VAPT of their organization public asset.
Got it, sir. Now, today with the advent of AI, gone are those days where we used to have monitoring done on a periodic basis. Today it is right live, right, and everything is done. What should organizations continuously discover, validate, and remove before these assets become entry points?
This question is very important, and this is a responsibility of a CEO as well as vCISO, that what all those assets are of public asset of organizations are, which like they can also continuously discover, validate and remove before those assets become entry point. So for this same, organization can discover about their domains, their subdomains, their application, their API, their cloud, their and if remote access has been given to somebody. So then after that, important part is validation comes. It's not like that like you came to know about any external asset which seems to be vulnerable, or you came to know that that is vulnerable. You can't shut down it directly because your business is dependent upon that external asset. So for the same, important part is required is validation, that is it required, about the I'm talking about the asset which got discovered. Who owns it? What business process depends upon it? Is it secure or is it vulnerable? So if asset is not required, then you have to remove that asset or decommission that asset. And if it is required, you need to secure it, and you have to be, being a leader of the organization, you have to assign responsibility for that asset. So and then comes the monitoring. We need to keep checking because the external attack surface changes as the business grows. So key line over here which I want to add for this question is, finding an unknown asset once is not enough. The external attack surface
Yeah,
changes as the business changes. So you just have to
I
remember
think.
that.
Yeah, go ahead, go ahead.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah, you
what
just
I
have to
understand, what I understand, sorry for that. What I understand that is that one time one time discovery will not help. First point, right? The second point is one time validation also will not work, right? And
absolutely, absolutely.
before now, to our previous point where we spoke about users and access reviews. Now, these are also becoming important. If that user has some service accounts, he's created some agents under his account, and if that account gets removed, that whole piece of work gets lost if it is not taken properly, right? That becomes a this one.
Absolutely,
So
absolutely.
I think what you are saying is organizations one time activity should be real time activity rather than having it done on a 3 months or 6 months basis. So that's the point. I think we should focus the difference between internal asset and a asset register and attackable external reality. So that's the point. Few of the blind spots that I understand is with your references are abandoned subdomains, developer environments, staging applications, public APIs. Today's environment is critical, right? And because we are
Absolutely.
all, everybody are on cloud, remote access gateways, right? Legacy VPN infrastructure. That is critical today. This, I think, in a report said by Verizon, their DBIR says vulnerability exploitation has become the leading breach entry at this point, and it is ranging at 31%. Separately, Google Cloud reported that third party software vulnerability accounted for 44.5% of observed initial access incidents in the second half of 2025 compared to 27.2% for the weak credentials. So the, there are there are people who give their name itself as their password. They will give the organization at 123. These are passwords that are given for critical accounts, and this becomes very easy to hack. And if I run a password scan or tools like that, and I can get those passwords just like that because it's going to take the name and give you the options, right? So that's what I understand. there. And you also said about black box methodology that becomes relevant here. The assets begins without privileges, internal knowledge, and the tests what advisory can independently identify. Right? This is what we wanted to say. And coming to the next point, how are stolen credentials, SaaS identities, and trusted third parties allowing attackers enter businesses without appearing at the back of them at all?
Absolutely. This question is again very important. I think stolen credentials. So how comes, as you ask these questions, that how these things like stolen credential or SaaS identities or trusted third party
Hmm.
allowing attackers to enter business without appearing to hack them at all. Uh, being having a digital business, we are having third party partners attached with our organization. At the
Yeah.
same time, we are having remote team working for us. And if you talk about remote teams, not all remote teams are, as already conveyed, like keeping simple password. And one important part is, if somebody is remotely and newly hired in an organization, if their asset is vulnerable, or somebody knows the password of that machine, and automatically getting access to that machine give access to your organization also. So valid access. So it's not always that attacker may not may need to break in. Attacker can even log in when correct key attacker has. So just
Yes.
have to remember that stolen credentials, session token, AP key, or trusted access, these all things specifically benefits attacker, because when this identity or trusted account is compromised, attacker may inherit existing access. So just have to remember that all these things looks very normal. Like if somebody is remotely logging to our organization with the same credentials which employees are having, or with the same credentials which got stolen from our third party vendor, so that it can call be it can, you can call it as attack, but that is not actually an attack. It's something like they are breaching your organization with the key you already gave that key to your trust partner. So
I
because of
think
the same absolutely. So because of the same activity may look like legitimate user activity, and successful attacker may look like an authorized user over here.
you're right in saying that. See, I think what happens is when I know you very personally, at times we see teams sharing their username and password so that they can work on some critical activities. So these were challenges because audit is not there. Yeah, there are cases that have been reported that the employee is left, the user is not disabled or offboarded, and the email ID was accessible. So there are a lot of things like that which have become a challenge now. How does compromising one SaaS provider, contractor, or administrator create a path into multiple customer environments?
Like, you just have to remember, and that is very important, business is not running in isolation nowadays. And if you talk about like as per your question, if one SaaS provider got compromised, so that application of that SaaS provider is being run by different organization. So if credential of one SaaS provider is compromised, automatically all customers those are attached with that SaaS application become asset for attacker, or you can say the root cause for attacker to break in even to their systems also. So trusted account get compromised, so multiple customers are attached with those SaaS. So one compromised contractor provider potentially have access to several customer environment. So accordingly, just have to remember that attacker getting trusted account or trusted service, and getting access to these SaaS things, get access to different customer environment, instead of attacker directly attacking a company. You can even think about the same, like attacker attacking a company through these trusted account. And I just want to importantly convey about the same, about one of my case I want to share, and that is very that is a current case now which has happened now itself. One of my organization, I'm working for them, and they got phishing. Their vendor got phishing email, and as per that phishing email, attacker has fished supplier of a company for one lakh dollar bill, for which company has never made. Now question arises that does the company was vulnerable, or the supplier was vulnerable in the go? So the important part was supplier system was vulnerable. So from the supplier system, these attackers were came to know about the mails which they were receiving about the company from where they were purchasing the product, and because of the same, phishing email was received by the supplier, and supplier in hurry of getting discount transferred the money to the bank account given to them with that phishing email. And automatically over here, who was compromised, the third party supplier was compromised. So
Yeah.
this how you just have to remember with your question, like third party access need to be treated as part of the organization security exposure. So even if your supplier is having third party access to your product information or your website information, even that also comes under organization security posture. And even like giving cyber security knowledge to your third party suppliers also is always comes an important aspect of cyber security.
Now, what I understand from what you're saying is, first is awareness. You need to have awareness, both internal teams and the vendors. Now, when you bring a vendor to an enterprise class system, you need to fix what are the challenges that are there before you add them to the environment. That is the second question. Now, third question is, the vendor will not have the infrastructure an enterprise will have to implement something also, right? So what is the bare minimum that is required for a vendor to be onboarded has to be defined very clearly, is what I'm getting from your point. Third party vendor risk TPM has to be done whenever you onboard a vendor, whenever a vendor adds a new system or brings a new update. You need to do risk assessment, is what I'm getting to hear from you. What controls matter when attacker arrives using legitimate credentials and legitimate services, which we spoke about? Their service is getting added. So your
Absolutely,
view on it.
absolutely. Okay, so over here, I'm continuing with that part again. Like if you're talking about third party vendor, so minimum requirement is at least they should have updated window, they should have updated antivirus, or a particular set of antivirus has been installed in their system. So this is minimum bare requirement. And think about the same with your question now, as you did ask that what controls specifically matter when attacker arrives using legitimate credentials and legitimate services. So you have to make the difference. If somebody some organization credentials has been leaked from the vendor point, in
Yeah.
that scenario, being a company owner, being a leader of my own organization, I just want to make a difference between real attacker accessing my SaaS or my website or my product portal, that can only be done through applying some security standards like having multi-factor authentication. It's not like that only giving username and password is sufficient to vendor. We should be having multi-factor authentication, and after that, even privilege access is also being carried forward. That like only what people can actually see should be only that access to be given to the vendor. Currently we are talking about vendor, and when you think about employees accessing our remote system, they should be only allowed to see that level of the organization for which they are allowed to. They should not privilege access is being required over there. So, and if something weird happen, controls are should be proper so that we can quickly revoke access of the organization to that third party vendor or any remote employee accessing our organization. And again, important part is the monitoring. So third party
Mm.
access is required to be monitored, and we just have to monitor that who has access, why they have access, is the access is still required, and logging is required to be done. For example, I will share one example over here, and that example is very important. My to the organization for whom I'm working, they sent me to create one admin account in website. I'm now
Mm.
as we are discussing about the digital asset, so I'm discussing about the website itself. So I asked for whom I should create admin account.
Mm.
The company for whom I'm working, they said you can create admin account for our for AdSense sort of organization, which
Yeah.
will bring ad on my company. I've created the admin account. So my only ask was, what is the requirement of admin account over there? Then they
Okay.
said that they will install a plugin. Then I conveyed
Mm.
to my to that organization, provide me the plugin. Instead of creating the admin account, I will create a least privilege account as
Yeah.
editor account, so that if they want to make any changes inside website, they can only make the changes from the plugin which they are wanting
Got
them
it.
to install. I personally install that plugin instead of giving them the admin access. So that is
Yeah.
very important. So key over here is, the first thing is to make the legitimate access harder to misuse. If somebody get access to your organization, even if they are attacker, even if they are legitimate user also, then we just need to monitor, we just need to log the that access activities also.
Now, there are two things that I infer from what you are saying is any new thing coming in has to be tested. We cannot. The other option that we can look at is you have MFA and introduce zero trust. Trust nobody.
Absolutely.
So, if I am giving you vulnerability, I am giving you access to an environment. I think what we are also saying is don't rely on only the password, rely on multi-factor authentication. Maybe one level of multi-factor authentication, you can use two-factor MFA also, where you have your email and your mobile getting an SMS and you key in those SMS. So I think there are multiple options that you can bring in when you bring new systems, and zero trust is going to be an norm. I don't trust anybody. I don't have anything, whether it is external or internal, and we implement zero trust. The third point which I want to add also is just in time access. Somebody needs access, don't give them permanent access. Give them just in time kind of an access, maybe for one day, maybe for 4 hours. After that, the access should get removed. Otherwise, what happens is you give access, we forget, and that becomes an abandoned user access, right? So that is the point that I think what we have to shift from perimeter security to identity trust path security, because we cannot change. The important attack paths include credential stealing malware, reused passwords, session token theft. These are things. Auth abuse, right? Today, authorization is a big thing that we need to look at, that can be abused. So you will have to look at, how do we look at, create a help desk for critical events and do some of the social engineering work that are to be done. APIs, which you said today, everything is you either pull or push using APIs only. So it is very very important, is what I understand. Coming to one last question before we conclude, I have one trend also which I want to read out. Uh, M Trends 2026 found that voice phishing grows by 11% with the advent of AI, where people started talking about saying there were so many instances, right, where I I call a C, getting a call from the CEO saying that I'm in a conference. Can you transfer money? We have seen multiple instances of that kind, and that rose to 11% of the observed initial infection vectors, becoming the second most common vector. That is what we found voice phishing, right? It also reported that attackers harvested long-lived auth tokens. Auth tokens also they have kept it for 1 year, 6 months,
Absolutely.
8 months. You need to have auth tokens refreshed at least with a period of maybe 45 days. That could be the fastest thing that we can do. If organizations think that they need to refresh it, it can be 15 days once you can change the auth tokens. That's that one thing. Session cookies not getting cleared, right? Those session cookies are there. You log in permanently, and that becomes a compromise, right? And access tokens to pivot data downstreaming customer environments, where you work on customer environments, but you don't look at the access tokens, right? And Microsoft in 2025 Digital Defense Report similarly notes that info stealers are fueling follow up on compromises, and the attackers continue to favor phishing, exposed services, and updated assets. So, the most dangerous intruder may not break they may authenticate successfully. So, they have the credential that they can look at. One last question for the day as we are on top of the hour. How is AI changing attackers' resonance from finding a target to rapidly researching, prioritizing, and weaponizing the right target?
Uh, uh, Previously, while we started, I did convey to you that we will definitely discuss about AI, and I
Yeah,
was wondering that with the presence of AI, even sometimes we think that attacker is having some sort of AI tool, or and they are able to like hack an organization directly. It's like process remains the same.
yeah,
Process is still the same. Attacker
mm,
already researched about your organization, they research about the technology, the employees, they research about the export system, and but because of AI, it accelerate the attacker what already do, and attackers are able to collect information very easily. They are able to summarize information very easily. Then they are able to connect information very easily,
yeah,
and accordingly they are with the because of the presence of AI, they are able to attack multiple people with in the same time span in which they were able to attack one person. So
yeah,
like research many more target altogether without having manual timing, and so AI don't does not magically give access to a hacker or a bad actor. It reduces the time and effort needed to understand where an opportunity may exist. So
yeah,
attacker continuously researches, and accordingly, being a defender, being a company owner, being a vCISO, being a other security guy in a company, our responsibility is to review our exposure every few months instead of relying
yeah.
on
Till a major
periodic,
event. Got it.
instead of relying on major event. Absolutely, absolutely.
So I think with that, I would like to take one trend and move on to the takeaways that I have. Yeah, one trend Google Threat Intelligence reported in May 26 that it identified cyber criminal zero-day exploit. It assessed with high confidence was supported by an AI discovery, right, and weaponization. GTIG also documented threat actors using AI for vulnerability research, reconsensus, malware development, and increasingly agentic workflows. So that's the point. And Google Cloud, yeah, yes, sir.
So I want to add one point over here, the
Mm,
same report you are sharing, and that is very
yeah,
important. Importance lesson is not that AI has suddenly created a completely new type of attack. With
yeah,
the presence of AI, we sometimes think that AI has created a new type of attack. Lesson is that attacker research and decision making process has become very faster. So they are
Correct.
able to. That is the reason that even Google Threat Intelligence reported to you, as per you, the report you read, that the cyber criminals are accessing AI with very high confidence during
Yeah.
their discovery and weaponization.
Right. Thank you for that, sir. Very important points. With this, I would like to summarize the. I have few questions as we are top of the hour. I'll put it on the chat, and we can review it later because we are at top of the hour. I will take some takeaways that I have. What changed was attackers can combine public information, exposed infrastructure, leaked credentials, SaaS relationships, and AI assisted research before attempting to access. That we discussed in length, which we spoke about. Why it matters is the organization's external observability reality may reveal attack paths, internal inventory, not only adequately represented. So that is the first point. The second point is in 2026, Verizon's DBIR places vulnerability exploitation by 31% of breaches, while mandating reports exploit accounted for 32% of intrusions, right, in 2025's investigations. The third point, credentials, session tokens, auth relationships, SaaS integrations, and supplier access can allow advisories to operate through legitimate trust paths rather than obviously malicious connections, because they will not at all know that the attack has happened because it will look as a normal login, right? So that is very important, is what we spoke. A resilient organization should complement internal controls and compliance with adversarial, is what we understand in the last 1 hour of our discussion. Sir, with this, we are on top of the hour, as I said. Any final pointers before we conclude, sir?
I would like to add one final pointer,
Yeah.
and it is a thought which is for every industry leader and as well
Mhm.
as every security leader, that attacker don't necessarily begin by attacking. You have to remember that attackers are not going to hack your organization directly by attacking. They begin by learning.
Yeah.
So I would encourage every organization to look at itself from the outside and ask what an unknown attacker could discover about them, because the things we don't see, maybe the things an attacker sees first about your organization. And this is something which we people does, and that is black box VAPT about your organization, about your digital asset. And for the same, you can get back and you can connect to me also.
So I am bringing up the QR here for Dr. Sahil Baghla to look at. You can connect to him. I am scrolling the link also of his, so that if you want to look at the link, this is the link for his LinkedIn account. Please do connect, understand what he does to protect the systems across the globe. He's been working, and as he told in the start of the event, he's been there in the industry solving problems for the last 15 years. I think there's a lot of knowledge that you can gain and understand on what Dr. Bagla does, right? And stay connected. Do follow us. Do let us know. Dr. Sahil, thank you for helping us to look at cyber security through a perspective of organization often underestimated, the attacker's view of business before the attack begins. So that's the point that we want to look at. The message is very clear. Attackers do not necessarily begin by attacking, they begin by learning. So they observe, they look
Absolutely.
at how you look at, and for everyone watching this event, does your security team understand your organization from outside as well as an attacker could be? So please look at how you can look protecting your system from outside also, because that's why it is called out of the box thinking, right? So how do we protect our
Absolutely.
environments? How do we look at? With this, doctor, thank you for joining us, and it's been great having you on this session. Thank you for joining, audience, and we would like to conclude the session for the day. We see you tomorrow on the next episode. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.